Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. Yay, it's Friday. That is the most fun day, isn't it? Because that's the start of the weekend, and maybe you can sleep a little late tomorrow. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. And it's a beautiful day here. It has been so gorgeous in Montgomery County. We've just had the best weather, and we're getting spoiled. But a lot of people I'm walking past some people at the grocery store, and I can hear them say, you better enjoy every single minute of this. If you've never been through a summer in here in Texas like this, you're going to be happy for every day like this. Because they were talking about how chilly it was in the morning. They said, just wait. They said, you better be happy about this. So I agree. You have to enjoy every second. I grew up here. I was born and raised in Texas, and so I'm certainly aware of every minute you have a day like this. Stay outside. Don't go inside. You have to enjoy all of it. Hey, did you know that Gallery Furniture has been doing this commercial saying, if you come in here and you buy $2,000 or more furniture, and you pick which party you believe is going to win in November, and you're right, you get your furniture free. Now, that is something of a horse race, right? I love that he's done this. But if he changes his mind as it gets closer and closer, because we start thinking we know who's going to win, this is a done deal, then it ought to be fun. But right now, the way that everything is going, we don't know who's going to be the nominee. We don't know how these conventions, both the Democrats and the Republicans, are having the most drama they probably ever had in a while in their party. And so they're having to deal with a lot of things going on. So that's why Cindy Cochran from the show, Cindy Cochran Show, your hostess, has gone out and found the best person that we could talk to with the most fair and balanced brain in probably this area, and that will not at any way get upset, frustrated, too excited about trying to answer some questions, because he's been doing this for ever since this campaign started. People will call him, and he has said, a lot of times the news media gets people all stirred up, or talk radio. Not this show, of course. He wasn't talking about this show. Gets people all stirred up, and then they have to call him, and they have to come by the office there and get some answers. And so he's going to be pretty happy when this thing is all over with, and the whole party comes together and says, okay, we got our nominee. Let's go old school and vote for that person, because he is representing our organization and our group, our party. So I've got Dr. Walter D. Wilkerson with me this morning. Welcome, Dr. Wally.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, listen, I'm so happy because this is your second time on the show. And if they come back a second time, that says a lot. Because sometimes I look up after the first 15-minute segment and went, where'd they go? Huh? Where'd they go? No, but Dr. Wally's he's in it. He's not afraid of any questions. He's not afraid of the controversy or anything that's going on. But Dr. Wally, hasn't this been the craziest campaign and going up to the convention that you've ever seen?
Well, I would think probably so. But, the people that follow politics or just the average person, if it's a done deal and everybody knows who the nominee is going to be, they complain and say, well, there's no excitement in this. And this year, on the Republican side, we started out with 17 people who had a real desire to be the president, and now we're down to 3. Mm-hmm. So it has been an interesting ride, and I'm sure out there amongst your listeners, there are people whose first choice is no longer in the race, mm-hmm. and there's people out there who feel very strongly about all 3 of the candidates that are still in the race.
Right. Trying to make up their mind. Well, mine was Carly Fiorina. I loved her. I thought she was great. She, to me, evoked Margaret Thatcher because of her. She's so strong and she was so, confident in the things that she knew and talked about. And so I really liked her. I was hoping in some way somebody, if she wasn't going to be, the nominee, that she would be vice president at least. And then we could have, our first female vice president. And so I was disappointed, but she now is taken up she's championing, I can't say the word, what's champion? Yeah, she's the one who's the championing the cause for Ted Cruz now, and she's going out and talking for him. And
Yes.
And so I went like, okay, all right, that's what she's going to do. Maybe he'll choose her as vice president. That would be very, very cool. But I think that the ones that have now started rallying around Ted Cruz, the ones that had dropped out of the races earlier, is a very interesting situation. And I don't know how guys do it. I do not know how guys do it. Women, I don't think could do it. I don't think after somebody's called me the names they call each other and what they've done to each other, that they all go like, oh, it's so good to see you, and give them a hug and say, let's vote for this guy. This guy is great. And then you say, yeah, but you said he was lousy, no good. And he said, well, that was during campaign. Everybody says stuff like that. Like, wait a minute, you were lying to us about how you felt about him. But we start kind of getting desensitized to a lot of outrageous things that before and years past would never have stood. And I think that's why every time Donald Trump would say something outrageous or weird, the media, the elite in the media, would say, that's it for him. He's gone. He's over. We knew this was going to happen. We knew he wouldn't last. And then his numbers kept growing. And so I know he has been like a thorn in the side for a lot of the party. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think a lot of what you say is correct. He is very outspoken, but, he's been a Republican, he's been a Democrat, he's been an independent. He's a businessman. Right. And so he played both sides in the middle. Mm-hmm. And now he has found that you got to, if you're going to run on one party ticket, well, you've got to you got to understand what it's all about. Right. The party politics part of it. Right. And that's the thing that he has suddenly come to realize, that in this election process, it's one thing to win these primary elections, mm-hmm. and it's another thing to round up the 1,237 delegates, votes, mm-hmm. that the National Convention required and needed to be the nominee. Right, right. And Senator Cruz has outworked him and outorganized him. Mm-hmm. At least it appears that way now. Right. And so it's going to go to the convention, I feel pretty sure. And Mr. Trump has said, well, if I have the most votes and delegates from the elections, even if I don't have a majority, then I should be the nominee. Right. And that's what a lot of Trump people come and talk to me about, and they're complaining that the party is against Trump and so forth. And I said, well, wait a minute. Suppose the Houston Texans are playing the Denver Broncos, and in the fourth quarter, the Houston Texans are ahead by 1 point. And so they all say, well, wait a minute. We got the most points. Let's just call the game and quit before the game's over. Mm-hmm. And you got to play it out until the game is over. And the game is not over until someone gets 1,237 delegate votes at the convention. Right. Now, see, that's what I think is interesting, is that probably, I don't believe 90% of the people that have been voters have paid any attention to the convention and their rules and the regulations and all that until now. All of a sudden, they have come up against something that they went, what? This is the, and so we're going to play, when we come back from our first break, we're going to play a clip from CNBC. CNBC has got a clip that you won't believe, and we'll play it, and then we're going to have
the expert right here, Dr. Wilkerson, he's going to comment on what he thinks this guy has said. So don't go away. This is going to be so interesting, and finally somebody, an expert, will be able to talk to us. Okay, we'll be right back on the Cindy Cochran Show. Don't go away.
The Cindy Cochran Show, the first daily talk show serving Montgomery County.
Lone Star Internet Radio is now bringing you the weekly business hour show each Monday morning at 11 a.m. My name is Rick Schisler, and I will be your host. Each week, we will be bringing you local, area, and national business news that you can use. The program will also feature an interview with a local or national business person who will share their own experiences, successes, and failures in operating their businesses. Our show is for anyone who already owns a business, whether they work solo or have employees, and for those who are thinking about starting their own businesses. A bit of information about myself. Again, my name is Rick Schisler, and I am a Silver Fox advisor who has over 40 years' experience as a serial entrepreneur. As a part of our show, I will offer some advice and encouragement on our monthly topic, and I will take your questions by email at rschisler@silverfox.org or call into the station at 936-647-3776. See you on the radio Monday at 11 a.m. for the weekly business hour.
In a world where everyone with a smartphone is a photographer, unique images still stand out in local newspapers, magazines, and on the internet. Writer and photographer Brad Meyer has gained a reputation for innovation and quality, specializing in an editorial approach to portraits and event photography. For information, visit bkmeyer.com or call 281-221-4812.
The Cindy Cochran Show. You ain't heard nothing yet.
Okay, we're back on the Cindy Cochran Show, and today we have with us our very special and very honored, so honored to have this man as a guest. It is Dr. Wally Wilkerson, as he's, better known. Everybody says Dr. Wally. I think, he is the most lovable character of all time. You just love this guy. You can't help it. He was the one who came in and turned around this county from being staunch Democrats to Republicans, and where the Democrats now have to draw some kind of icon in the sand so that they can talk to each other, because he's got everybody on the Republican side now. And it's fascinating to me that they're one block away from us, and I've been ranting and raving about what is going to happen at this convention. What is the deal about the rules and the regulations? And you've heard people all over across the spectrum of news media, try and explain this and all, and what's going to happen. But then this bombshell dropped on CNBC that happened, I don't know, probably maybe a month ago by now, and it has been dissected down to the last, little comma in the thing. But we're going to listen to what they said, and it's about 3 minutes, a little over 3 minutes, and we're going to then have Dr. Wilkerson, give us some insight into this. This is CNBC, and they will be able to then decide. We'll decide what happens. But it's CNBC talking to Curly Haugland, who is a leader of the GOP, and I want Dr. Wilkerson is going to put on his headset. Did they fall, Dr. Wilkerson? Did they fall?
No, the wire got stuck.
Oh, the wire got stuck under the chair. Okay, all right. Technical difficulties. Okay, now he's going to be able to hear everything that they say. So everybody, hang on about 3 minutes, 45 seconds, and we'll be right back. Convention.
It appears that we're headed that way. I don't see very many options that would go down a different path.
In that situation, what will you be considering? What types of rules will you be considering? Because right now the rules say that you have to win at least 8 states or 8 different districts in order to be considered, and the only person who's done that so far is Donald Trump.
Well, and that's a misunderstanding. That rule actually is different than that. That's a vote that needs to be taken at the convention of the delegates. The requirement is that the candidate must demonstrate the support of the majority of the delegates from 8 states that are permanently seated. So that vote can't even be taken until the convention. So obviously, no determination can be made until the convention.
So that vote that we thought, or that rule that we thought stood, is not a rule that actually stands?
No, it is a rule that stands, but the rule says specifically that it's a vote of the delegates at the convention to determine if there's a majority.
Voters.
Not a primary vote. The primary votes are not considered. It's the delegates' votes. The delegates cannot vote until they're permanently seated, and that's the first action of the convention. So
most of the delegates are going to be bound delegates who are required to vote as the voters sent them. I think there's only like 116 unbound delegates. And Gary, maybe you can weigh in and say whether you think things will go, how you think things will go on this first vote if most of these delegates are bound.
Well, first of all, North Dakota is one of the states. There's 3 states and 2 territories that have unbound delegates. Correct. I think there's about 112 of them. And North Dakota is one. Our convention is in April 1st, and then that'll determine if I'm actually one of the elected delegates that are elected at the convention. But what happens is, let's say Trump gets to 95% or 90% or Ted Cruz. What happens is those unbound delegates have the ability to vote for whatever candidate they want on the first ballot. And that is what could change and give power to those delegates who will be voting on that first ballot. And, of course, once you go to the second ballot, if no one wins with 50%, which is really majority, 50% plus 1, then it's all bets off.
Okay, I understand that these are the rules and that there's all kinds of crazy arcane rules that could be voted on between now and then. But, Curly, let me ask you, if Donald Trump heads into the nomination, maybe he's short of the 1237 required, if you give it to someone who has a much lesser percentage of the voters who have actually turned out for these primaries, don't you worry that you are going to just send chaos and anger into the Trump supporters, into the people who feel like their votes don't matter?
No, I don't think that's the case. If it would just be understood. We have a problem with the media. Unfortunately, the cable networks are trying to determine.
I don't think this is a problem with the media. I've heard from a lot of voters who say if they feel like their votes got stolen, that they would be very unhappy and very angry. I think you're looking at a different situation. I realize these have been the rules, but the last time these rules were put in place was 1976. It's been a long time since then. Yeah, they're still there. Yeah, that's a problem. The media has created the perception that the voters will decide the nomination, and that's the concept. That's the conflict here. We feel like we live in a democratic society. What you're telling me is it's not a democratic society, and your votes don't necessarily matter because it's a democratic representation, correct? No, that's not what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm trying to say is that we're just one of the political parties. There's many political parties, but political parties choose their nominee, not the general public, contrary to popular belief. Then why bother holding the primaries? That's a very good question.
Look, Gary, hold on. You're a Republican. No, hold on. A Republican would say that, the people, what the people say matters.
I think that's the statement that was the bombshell that just created a lot of chaos in that. But I got to say, I want to keep this fair and balanced. The Democrats are going through the very same thing as they come up to their convention. This is the same problem that they're having, is that if Sanders comes in and has more than Hillary, and Hillary hasn't hit that magic number that they have up there, that he should be the nominee. And they're saying, no, then we have to go to convention rules and do that. And that's what is waking a lot of people up. Dr. Wally, a lot of people just didn't understand how this worked. But can you explain, did he explain that well enough, or you feel like he didn't give the right perception?
Well, I think that the perception is basically what he talked about. But let's remember one thing, that the Constitution of the United States does not address how we run our elections. Thank goodness. So it's left to the individual states to decide what the rules are in regard to the elections. Some states have what we call closed primary elections, and a lot of states, including Texas, has what is called an open primary. Now, what does that mean? That means a closed primary, you have to have registered to vote, and when you register to vote, you register your party affiliation, Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whatever. And therefore, when the elections take place, only two of the parties in the country have primaries, and that's the two major parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. If you register to vote and you registered as a Democrat or a Republican, then you have to vote in that primary.
Mm-hmm.
An open primary means that when you register to vote, you don't register your party affiliation. You simply register to vote. And when it comes time to vote, you can choose which party primary you want to vote in. And in Texas, when you vote in a primary, that's when you affiliate with a party.
Right.
And for the remainder of that year, like on March the 1st, when people voted in a Republican primary, they are considered legally a Republican, and they will be a Republican until the end of this year, until January 1, 2017. Then really, we can say we're a Republican or Democrat, but legally speaking, you're not a member of a party until you vote in the primary again.
Okay.
So now that's an open primary. In a closed primary, then you have to vote in the party in which you registered your party affiliation. Now, that's one thing. Now, a lot of people say, well, why don't we have the same rule for everybody? Well, that's like saying we want the federal government to take over and run our elections and tell us how each state is supposed to hold their elections. I don't think we want that.
No, I don't. No, I certainly don't think we want that.
That's why right now, because the nomination for both candidates for both parties is kind of up in the air. We don't know for sure which one it's going to be. It's probably more certain on the Democrat side and definitely on the Republican side. So as a result of that, it's not like it usually is, where we have a predominant candidate for president in the party, and it looks like they're a shoo-in. And so when they get to the convention, they already have the number of delegate votes they need to be nominated. So there's no suspense about it. But when you have what we call a contested primary, which is very simple, it just means that no candidate has enough delegate votes before the convention to be the nominee.
Right.
And so that's a contested convention. And it looks like that's what it's going to be on the Republican side. And so as a result, we get down to the fact that every state party has their own rules about how delegates are selected and how long they will be bound to a certain candidate at the national convention.
But why would they give them an out at all? I mean, once the state has voted and decided that this is their candidate, Ted Cruz in Texas, this is their candidate. Those delegates, why do they have a time limitation of being released from that commitment?
Well, if they didn't, I suppose you could say it might go on and on and on, because if you're deadlocked before you get to the convention, and nobody has the ability to change their vote or to make up their mind in a different manner, then you might not ever get a nominee. I mean, that's a possibility.
Right. Well, it sounds like, though, as well, is that those delegates that are kind of free agents, let's say, is that...
Now, that not in Texas. That's
not in Texas. But they were talking about some of these states that have this.
Some of the states have different rules about how long the delegates are bound, whether they're bound or not. And the gentleman was on there a while ago, was talking about North Dakota had unbounded delegates. That means they come to the convention and they're not bound to any candidate.
That's so strange to me, and in so many ways. But that's their state. That's
the
what
way they want to do it,
and that's what they've done.
They don't have a primary election.
Right.
They choose their delegates at a caucus, which simply means just a meeting of the Republicans or Democrats.
So that the two front runners, let's say right now, wouldn't they be going after those delegates?
They sure are, and and I understand that Mr. Cruz won the majority of those North Dakota delegates.
Well, you see, what's wrong with Trump?
He went to talk to them. His organization did.
Yeah.
And they found people that were going to be delegates to the convention. They talked to them, and they leaned toward voting for Senator Cruz.
I mean, isn't that something that Donald Trump didn't have his steaks and his champagne, all that stuff out ready, and had a cheese and wine tasting thing, and tried to woo the people. That's so interesting to me that hasn't been made a lot of. Like, how are they wooing them? How are they pulling them to their side?
Well, you know, it's against the law to pay people to vote for somebody.
You know,
except at a convention like this, I'm not saying that any candidate is going to pay people to vote for them, but it's not against the law.
Isn't that something? Our peanut gallery, which is made up of Dennis O'Connor outside on the bench listening to the show and watching us do the show, started doing this. Like he's giving out money, and then you actually said that. So, and it's not against the law to do that. I'm so shocked.
That's what I understand. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been to 3 national conventions.
Yeah, I see.
And 2 of them I was a delegate, and that was before Texas had a primary election in 1968 and 1972, and in 1968. Ronald Reagan got in the race at the last minute.
Right.
And so we had Richard Nixon, and we had Nelson Rockefeller from New York and Ronald Reagan from California. And we went to the convention, and they had the biggest parties you could ever imagine.
Okay, now wait. I want to know all about the parties. Hang on, we got to go to a break, but I want to know about the parties. The party, that's going to be fun. All right, guys, you're listening to Cindy Cochran Show with the expert here, the chairman of the Montgomery County Republican Party, and he's with us, and he's going to, get us all straightened out. You're listening to Cindy Cochran Show. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The Cindy Cochran Show, real reality radio.
Tune in to Chamber Chat with your host, Courtney Galley and Samantha Good, with the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce every first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. I'm one of your hosts, Courtney Galley. Samantha and I will chat about the Conroe Chamber's upcoming events and programs for the month. Relax with a cup of joe or your favorite drink for Chamber Chat.
In a world where everyone with a smartphone is a photographer, unique images still stand out in local newspapers, magazines, and on the internet. Writer and photographer Brad Meyer has gained a reputation for innovation and quality, specializing in an editorial approach to portraits and event photography. For information, visit bkmeyer.com or call 281-221-4812.
Hi, this is BJ Orner from Montgomery County Performing Arts Society. I'm here to remind you to get your tickets now for all the upcoming events that McPass has to offer. All shows will be held at the beautiful Crichton Theater in downtown Conroe. Call 936-441-7469 for your tickets today, or go to our website, www.mcpass.org, for more information. Hope to see you at the show. Have a legal question? Are you a resident of Montgomery County? Call 281-645-6344 to talk to a volunteer attorney from the Woodlands Bar Association. We answer the phones on the first Monday of every month at 281-645-6344 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to provide general legal information and information about legal resources to Montgomery County residents.
And we're back on the Cindy Cochran Show. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Friday, and we want to get the week started off right. But we want to educate people and make them feel like if somebody asks this question or they're sitting around talking about it, that they'll have the answer because they listen to the Cindy Cochran Show. And I'm telling you guys, every single day we talk about something different. It could be strange, it could be weird, it could be funny or whatever, or outrageous. But today we're talking about what I know that you're sick and tired of hearing about, but a lot of times you tune out and you don't get all the information so you know what to do with it. But luckily, right here in downtown Conroe, we have the largest Republican Party headquarters, and it's Montgomery County's, and we have the chairman of it, Dr. Wally Wilkerson. He's with us today, and it's going to be, it's going to be a great day for everybody who's interested in this stuff, because you're hearing it firsthand about someone who is just, eats, lives, and breathes this stuff and knows what's going on. So he had just started telling us about, he's been to 3 different conventions and has gone as a delegate, right? You've been a delegate.
Twice as a delegate, and one as an alternate delegate. And
my question was, how do the top candidates who are really, almost right there, ready to jump on being the nominee, but they need some more delegates, and they've got these unbound, it's so funny, unbound delegates, or they have delegates that if they have to go to votes, when they get to the second vote, they're released from their bondage, and they can then vote whoever they want to. So I said, how do they woo these people? So he started to tell us about the parties that were given to, and how they did woo them. And so what was Reagan's parties like?
Well, it wasn't quite as big as Rockefeller and Nixon's party, because he got in late in the campaign in '68.
That's right.
But they had these parties and all kinds of food and drinks and all that stuff. And then, like a town hall meeting, the candidate would go to every state and meet with the delegates and make his speech and make his pitch and answer questions.
Right.
And then the delegates made their decision as to whether they were going to vote for Rockefeller or Nixon or Reagan.
Wow. Now, you weren't pulled aside or anything and said...
No, it's not generally one-on-one.
Okay,
Not generally, but it could be.
But you know how we've seen so many movies, so we just, we go with that. But they did it, they did it in a presidential way, right? They sat there and just stated their case.
That's correct.
Well, how many glasses of wine did you have before they did that? Okay, I was just wondering.
No.
Okay.
I don't even recall because I was amazed. I was just a young guy from Texas, and I was amazed at all the food and the different kind of foods they had. Rockefeller, I think, had some sample of some food from almost every country in the world.
Good grief!
And it was quite an experience.
So you can be just.
But I ended up voting for Nixon.
You did? Okay, okay. But I love that. I love that there is that kind of the interaction and how they do things, but how we perceive them, because we're not there. So we have to hear from, the delegates that go that are representing us. What went on? What happened? How did they treat you? And whenever you stand there, now, were you ever the one that said, Lady Chairman, Texas,
No,
you never got to do that?
That went to generally the state party chairman is the one that makes those announcements, or say a major office holder like the governor or senator or something like that. No, I was not that high up in the pecking order.
But were you standing next to him when they did that?
It was exciting. It's an experience that I think everybody ought to have a chance if they want to, if they're a political junkie like I am.
Right.
You get to go to those conventions, and a lot of people have asked me, well, aren't you going this year? And I said, no, I'm too old, and I'll let other people go. They're younger people need to go.
Well, it may be. I've been telling everybody, I think that the GOP and the DNC, they need to do a pay-per-view event for the conventions so they can raise a lot of money that way, because everybody wants to see what's going to happen, because they're, we've already got it all built up in our mind that it's just going to be a free-for-all, and it's going to be very interesting, and a lot of things that we never knew about we're going to find out.
Well, I wanted to make it clear that when I mentioned the fact that the Constitution does not address how we hold elections or how parties select their delegates, right, or how parties select their presidential nominees. And every state party is different, and within each state, the Republican and Democrat parties have different rules and different numbers of delegates to be nominated and all that. And so that's what we're dealing with now, because it looks like it's going to be a contested convention.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it was a surefire thing that one candidate was going to be the nominee, well, we never talked about all that.
Right. That's why we don't know about these rules.
So every state party, the Republican and Democrat Party, have their own rules that pertain to their state.
Right.
And they may not be ones that we would like in Texas, but in their state, that's the ones they like.
Well,
and so often I get people all upset to talk to me because they don't understand why somebody is so mean to their candidate. And I say, you know, all of us are free to have our own opinion.
Right.
And that's
right.
your opinion. But
right.
It may mean that the person that said that didn't feel like it was mean to say that. So in America, we're free to express ourselves. And in politics, sometimes it can be a little tough.
It is. And, like, can you think of the most asked question you have had that people come into the Republican Party headquarters, just walking off the street, and what's the most asked question? Can you give me that?
Oh, I expect the one that most people come in and they say, well, so-and-so is stealing the nomination from another candidate. In particular, they'll say, well, Cruz or somebody is stealing the nomination from Trump. And I said, no, stealing is not the right term. If you get more votes than the other candidate, that's not stealing.
No, that's right. Well, Kasich, I think, is the thorn in Cruz and Trump's side, because he's going to stay in there because he knows all these rules and he thinks things can turn on their head, and he has a chance. And he's only won one state.
That is correct.
That is just amazing.
Of course, it was mentioned by the gentleman who you played the tape of a while ago that it will be up to the convention delegates to make that choice. Now, it may turn out that Mr. Trump is the leader in the number of votes he got in the state of Texas, but it may turn out that he may not be the nominee.
Right.
And that's because of the way each state chooses their delegates and how they go about doing that. And that's, to me, that's preferable to having the U.S. government come in and tell each state that you're going to do it this way, and this is the way it'll be.
Well, we've got a sign up now from our peanut gallery that's saying, not elected by popular vote. That is not how a candidate gets elected, by popular vote. We have heard that before. Like, they said that Gore won the popular vote and Bush won the election.
He won the Electoral College.
And that's like a whole nother story.
Because now that is in the Constitution.
Yeah.
The Electoral College is.
And people have seen that as arcane in the sense that, we have travel, we have technology now that keeps us from having to send people, because not everybody could go and vote at, one place. All the people couldn't travel someplace and vote, so they sent representatives to do the voting. Is that correct?
Well, a lot of people say there's been a movement to abolish the Electoral College and have strictly a popular vote. But keep in mind, if that's the case, and you do it strictly on a popular vote, then chances are that the bigger states are going to monopolize all the presidential elections because the smaller states don't have the same voting power. And I understand the people that think it'd be fair to have a popular vote, but the Electoral College has worked well for us. And in the case of Gore and Bush, the fact that Bush won more states that had more electoral votes. And that was the reason that he was elected president. It was only a difference of 300,000 or 400,000 votes. So
it's amazing.
And there was a movement to do away with the Electoral College at the time. But you remember, to amend the Constitution, it should be, and it is not easy to do. You have to have a lot of lot of people in favor of it.
Well, I want to tell you something that's very cool. And people that live in this area or around this area, or even if you could drive to this area, going to the Republican Party's headquarters is like going into a museum. They have got the coolest pictures of, and especially if you're a Republican, you'll enjoy it probably more. But it's a very cool place to go. And yesterday I was in there and I was waiting for the lady that was at the desk. She was talking to someone, so I started walking around. I had never stood and walked around to see all the different things there. It's great. It really is good. So if you're a Republican and you want to spend some time in some history, they've got it right there on Metcalf Street, and we can look right at that. I can't believe you're just like a couple of blocks away. And he even walked over here. I am so happy that you came to see me. Now that we've got that straightened out, and I think everybody's clear, you probably explained it better in this amount of time that I've been listening and trying to understand what are you guys talking about. And so this is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And if you'll come back, there'll be probably times I'll come over there and beg you to come back and say, please help us understand this, because you have a calm, stabilizing voice that we need to hear. And we don't hear it a lot of times in the media. And I do want this talk show to be about your opinion, what your opinion is, and what your opinion is usually your reality. But I do listen and read all about this stuff. I even listen to C-SPAN of all things, so that really shows what a junkie I am. But Dr. Wally, thank you so much for being a part of this, helping us understand this. This is so wonderful. We're going to be right back. I want to tell you what's going to be happening next week. And whatever Dr. Wally may have forgotten to say, he may say this in the next segment. He can stay here with me. You guys will be right back. Don't go away.
The Cindy Cochran Show. You ain't heard nothing yet.
At Jazzy Junk, volunteers reclaim, restore, and recycle. Jazzy Junk is a non-profit resale storefront where you will discover wonderful, unique finds at very affordable prices on furniture, antiques, books, art, home decor, and more. When you shop Jazzy Junk, you support New Danville, a community for adults with developmental disabilities. We receive new donations daily, so plan a visit to Jazzy Junk today to find that perfect item or gift. Our motto is here today, gone today. So remember to hurry in and shop often for the best selection. Jazzy Junk is located in the outlets at Conroe on League Line Road and I-45 North. Call 936-441-4500 or visit our website, jazzyjunk.org. That's JUNQUE for more information and store hours.
Howdy, howdy, folks. Cable Smith, host of the Lone Star Outdoors Show, inviting you to join me Saturday mornings from 7 to 8 on Lone Star Internet Radio for Texas' premier hunting, fishing, and outdoor talk show. So pour yourself another cup of coffee and pull up that stool a little closer to the old campfire, because if you can catch it or kill it in Texas, we're going to talk about it. That's right. Bucks and ducks, gobblers, monster bass, redfish, trout, and a whole lot more. Plus, you never know what outdoor celebrity is going to drop by, from Phil the Duck Commander Robertson to fishing legend Bill Dance or everybody's favorite uncle Ted Nugent. Heck, we might even mix in an interview and hear some brand spanking new Texas music from one of your favorite Texas musicians like Robert Earl Keen, Brandon Ryder, or the honky-tonk kid himself, Aaron Watson. Loved or hated but never ignored, it's the Lone Star Outdoors Show with me, Cable Smith, Saturday mornings from 7 to 8 right here on Lone Star Internet Radio on irlonestar.com.
In a world where everyone with a smartphone is a photographer, unique images still stand out in local newspapers, magazines, and on the internet. Writer and photographer Brad Meyer has gained a reputation for innovation and quality, specializing in an editorial approach to portraits and event photography. For information, visit bkmeyer.com or call 281-221-4812.
The Cindy Cochran Show, the most opinionated talk show on radio.
And we're back on the Cindy Cochran Show having a fascinating conversation because it's not just me, it is Dr. Wally Wilkerson, and he is chairman of the Montgomery County Republican headquarters party, and it's a huge, like one of the largest Republican, headquarters ever, because the so many of our Republican friends are right here in this area. And now, we've been talking about and kind of, not really beating up on Republicans at all, but just trying to understand what's going on, because the media has jumped in the middle of this, and they love the fact that there's any kind of, when they say contested and they say Republican, the same word, same sentence, they think it's great. But the Democrats are having just as much problems, so many problems. Poor Hillary. Yesterday, they tried to put her in a subway train in New York, because New York is the next one up. And so they going to take her into the subway and let her ride the subway and be part of the people. And she couldn't get her subway card to work, so it would let her into the subway train. And she kept sliding it, it wouldn't work. And so all these news outlets this morning were showing all these people coming through and sliding their cards, and nobody ever had to do it more than once. And they just gave her a bunch of flack for it, like, why do you try things like that? And there you go. So you have to be careful when your advisor says, hey, why don't we sit in a tank and put a helmet on and get a photo op of you driving a tank? That would be great. And certainly Mondale decided that he would do that and figured out that wasn't a really good choice to make. You never know what's going to turn on. Just a dime. It'll turn on a dime. So you don't listen to everybody and do these things that may make you look silly in the process. But I am so excited that Dr. Wally, you were here to help us through this. And what we've got coming up next week is really exciting, because Deanie Harmon is going to be here Monday. She's going to be here because, remember, she was here a couple of weeks ago, and so she's back by popular demand because she was a 17-year undercover narcotics agent. And she's retired now, so she can, give us the dirt. She can talk about what she went through. And as a woman coming in the 70s, 80s, she was just like one of a few women that came into this. And also, we're going to have Lieutenant Bob Berry, and he's going to talk about how you can do ride-alongs with him, and that's exciting. And it's by going through the academy at the police academy, and they're going to let teenagers do this as well during the summer, and it's so exciting. So be sure and be here Monday for us. Tuesday is Travis Bryant talking about the new Rumors play that's going to happen at the Crichton Theater, and he is the director of that, and he's promised he's going to bring some actors maybe with him and tease us with some of the stuff that's going to happen in that play. Wednesday, we have Kirk Murphy. He's the general manager of the Golden Corral. The Golden Corral, I love that place. I love the Golden Corral here in Conroe. And he's going to talk about that they serve more than food to the community, and how they serve the community. So we're going to talk to him. And then Thursday, hopefully we're going to get one of the dentists from Pioneer Dentistry. And Pioneer Dentistry has an amazing first time, if you're a new patient, what they'll do for $39 is just amazing. And they're trying to make dentistry affordable for people and in this community. So it's going to be exciting to have them on and talk about their brand new business model that they've got. And then Friday, and I'm going to move Jimmy the C, who usually does our sports. I'm going to move him to Friday with me, and we'll talk what's been going on in the sports world. Lots of stuff has been going on in the sports world. So we've got a full week next week that you cannot miss. You just don't want to miss. But I just thank my guest today, because you ended the week in such a cool, and he's just so sophisticated. He's just wonderful. And his wife, Nettie Jane, who's out there, I hope she's listening today. I hope she's listening. We want to say thank you for lending us your husband for this hour and letting him bestow all his knowledge on us. So if you have any questions or anything like that, be sure to come to my Facebook, The Cindy Cochran Show. And if you have suggestions of people that you'd like to have on here, and remember, we're starting the new segment with talented children and their stage mothers. And if you know of a talented child, or you have one, and you would like them to come on, as long as it's something that could be done over the radio, because probably, I don't know, tap dancing may not do it, or I don't know. There's just probably a lot of different talents that people have that we couldn't probably have on the radio. But if you think that would work, please let us know, and we would love to have your talented child come in here. So, guys, thank you so much for being with us. Oh, my word, it's been a full week. We've got a full week next week. And, again, thank you, Dr. Wally Wilkerson. And we will see you Monday. Have a great weekend. Make somebody happy, and you will be happier.